we will starting with your initial journey, how you started with your childhood, the education that you had, the kind of experience that you have in school and college, which actually framed you in a way that you end up having a startup. So starting with that.
So I did my schooling in Calcutta, grew up in Calcutta, went to Birla High School in Calcutta. Very fond memories of my school days. Then came to Bombay in in early 2000. I went to Sydenham College for my graduation. Then to Aston, and then to Harvard Business School for a short program. But yeah, education was great. I had a great time in school.
Yeah, so can you please go about the kind of activities that you were involved in school and the things that you did in the college, apart from studying the core subjects?
So I was quite active in Sydenham College. I was the council chairperson, very, very active in college, took a lot of deep interest in extracurriculars and various I was a council chairperson, so spent a lot of time meeting students, listening to their problems.
Right, get it. So the time you choose that you want to go Harvard for higher studies, so is there any specific reason for that, or you just wanted to have abroad experience?
There was no specific reason to go to Harvard. It was, I never wanted to go to Harvard.
Okay.
It's just that it just happened that I met somebody who said that it's a good program.
Okay.
The program that I did at Harvard was a business marketing strategy program.
Okay.
Initially, and then in that program, somebody told me that it's a good idea at the stage I was in my first venture. It's a good idea to do the program for leadership development program, which was a nice status program at Harvard. So I chose to do that because of the suggestion of a colleague of mine from this industry I was in.
Got it.
Post my time at Sydenham and post my time at Aston and post my time at LSC, I started my first venture, which was PLG Power. My first venture was into clean energy. We used to make solar panels in India and export them to Europe. So it's probably between 2008 to 2012, we ended up exporting about 72 megawatt solar panels worth about 108 million euros.
Nice.
It was my first startup.
Nice.
And while I was doing my first startup, somebody suggested that you can do this program at Harvard Business School, which is called Program for Leadership Development, a nice status program full time. And it'll be a great learning experience for you. So the people I met at Harvard were fantastic. I was very young, too young for the program. I think I was 29, 28, something. And the age group for the program is north of 42. So you should be 40 plus for that program. So it was too early for me, I think. And it was a good program that I really enjoyed. But I think all my colleges, whether it was Sydenham, the founding years of my life were at Sydenham College. I was a students' council chairperson and made a lot of connections there. Aston, LSC, I think every institution is an institution that shaped me in my journey. Harvard was towards the fag end. Yeah. I think the institution that I most vividly and fondly would like to remember is LSC and Aston, where I wrote a dissertation on clean energy. Right. And that set me up for my entrepreneurial ventures from there on. So I did my dissertation on the role of clean energy that the world is moving towards sustainability, and the role of clean energy in moving the world to a better place. So that's the paper I wrote on. Did massive research and that I did at LSC and at Aston.
Right. Right. Yeah. So you started this venture when you was in your college, right?
When I was in my college.
And what were the incident or the reason you felt like starting this? Is about you discovered this idea, or you were more into to develop some clean energy ventures?
So I was toying with various ideas. I was looking at various things. I didn't want to join my family business. I wanted to start something on my own, but I didn't know what to do. Right. Okay. So when we were doing this research and this dissertation on what to write the topic, I came about this topic that energy is critical. We all need energy in life. Food that we eat is all energy. To move, we need energy, and while we need energy, we need sustainable sources of energy. Yeah. It's like the right food that you eat or the right people you meet. Yeah. People give you also energy. So And while energy is critical for the world to move forward and for you to move forward in life, it should be generated sustainably. And also there should be the right, the source should be sustainable. And then I thought that yes, let's figure out which could be the ways. And obviously renewable energy at that time was really the talking point in the early 2000s. I wrote my paper in 2006, 2007, and there's a lot of talk about climate change happening because this new decade, this new century starting from 2000 is about sustainability. So I spent a lot of time researching on clean energy and the role of clean energy in the European countries, in the US, and why the markets like US and Europe and UK are now so proactive and imbibing clean energy, and what Asia could learn from it. So the entire story was what India could do, the role of clean energy going forward in the next 2 decades in India, and what is happening in Europe, and a comparison of that. At that time, India still was a very small market. India was not ready as yet. So the whole idea was then that we'll manufacture solar panels in India. Once I finished my graduation, came back to India. We figured out that if we make solar panels, we can make in India and sell them to Europe, because Europe was a market then. India wasn't the market. In 3-4 years, India opened up and became a market. So my venture one, which was manufacturing solar panels and exports to Europe, which was PLG Power. I was the founder, CEO of that company. But then again, what they don't teach you in business school is resilience. What they don't teach you in business school is survival skills. So my first venture also went south at a very young age of 23 when I started my first venture. I also was hit with a massive challenge in 2011 at the age of 27. The market crashed in Europe, and all the exports that I did went south. The market crashed. The prices of solar panels came down crashing. So you have to very quickly then come out and find a new solution to do next. What? So I had to shut down my first venture, start my second venture, which was PLG Photovoltaic. We set up India's first 20 megawatt solar power plant at Patan in Gujarat, in Radhanpur. We invested about $60 million at then that time to build that solar power plant. So it was my own solar panels that I was exporting. I could not sell, the market crash. I could use some of them in building the solar power plant, got some other panels. And I met my co-founder of Blusmart Mobility. I met him then. He was running Gensol, which is one of India's largest energy services company. So he built and designed my solar power plant, which we built in record time. And I sold off that solar power plant for $68 million enterprise value in 2014. So it was a decent exit after my first venture. But at a very early stage, I learned that you have to keep innovating and you have to be on your toes all the time. You may be doing well now, but that doesn't guarantee the education or the knowledge that you get, doesn't guarantee continued success. So you have to be on your toes and you have to be quite nimble-footed and vigilant and try and connect the dots, of your education or of your background, whatever, in your businesses. So everything is kind of a relative term. It's not that's something that I also knew from day one. It's just on the path of being this entrepreneurial journey, you pick up and then you put into process.
So summarizing entire journey so far is basically you had 2 startups, both of were needing energy only, and then you were into energy from the very beginning, right? So asking the question that you are a person who have the experience of how exactly Indian education system works, and you really went to the Harvard. So if you could please tell us how Harvard's education is a bit different from Indian education, and what kind of experience is there in terms of Harvard context and in terms of Indian education.
Look, so I think that, I think the teaching processes in India is very good. I think it's very thorough. But it's a lot based on books, and a lot is based on past. It's not futuristic. I think the experience that, the immersive experience that you get at LSE or Aston or from Harvard is not only that experience of others, going through case studies of how they did, it also to put you in that position, what would you have done?
Got it.
Right? Given the knowledge you have and, what you're doing in school and college, or, you've, amassed this massive knowledge or skill set. When you are put in that position, what would you do? You always have options or choices to make, right? You could do this or you could do that. And you are given 3 options. Nothing is right. So I'm a student of economics, and economics, nothing is wrong, nothing is right. Every country addresses a different challenge differently. Just challenge is one.
Got it.
So the challenge is climate change. Country one is behaving differently or responding differently. The country two is responding differently. Country three is responding differently, and that is based on your priorities or where you are or how affected you are of that environment. I think what Harvard or London School of Economics or Aston Business School, my time there taught me was they give you the real-time opportunity to put you in that challenging condition. It's like you are there, and what would you do? Right. Instead of saying that, okay, I would have done this or this guy did it and I think it is right or wrong. Instead of commenting on somebody's good or bad, or I mean, we can't say even good or bad. I mean, whatever they did and saying that that could have been done, would have been done, actually what you would have done. So that I think that immersive experience that you get by, they give you the center stage, and you have to probably enact or and through that case study process or through that process of the real life approach that you get. They also invite people to speak whose case studies we went through, and they also come up with the thought that I did it, but I could have done this also. You know, in retrospect. So the outcome would have been different. So I think that is something that was good to learn, and to see real life problems and how to solve those real life problems. But that still doesn't mean that it will actually apply to you, right? Everybody's thing is very different. You can apply logic, but not every time the logic is right.
Basically, it's boiled down to you have to go into a market and try things on your own instead of saying that this person.
I think it's better to fail early, and the failure obviously teaches you that you have more options for success now, and it keeps getting you towards success. But it's very, very important to also see all sides of it.
Discovering all the possibilities on your own so that you can see what you could done. Right. So basically, you had 2 startups, right? And you got a deal.
Actually 4. So my first venture was the panel manufacturing venture. Second was the solar power plant that I set up, which I sold off at a good enterprise value. Third was another solar power plant that I set up in 2017 in Dhule in Maharashtra. It was a 70 megawatt solar power plant, PLG Clean Energy Projects. So I had 3 energy ventures. And the fourth one is what I'm doing now, Blusmart Mobility. The white paper for which I wrote back in 2016 in one of my US visits. For my earlier venture, I was doing a lot of research on solar, but then I've got to know about EV and the EV charging infra, stumbled upon the charging infra, in the US, and that's how my current venture is, thanks to my last venture.
Right. So if you could please, give a brief about your third venture and then telling us the transition that happened from, quitting your third venture and then going to Blusmart.
So my third venture was actually a forward integration of my second venture, which was again a solar power plant. In my second venture, I set up a 20 megawatt solar power plant, which was at that time one of the largest. 2 years later, I took a break of 2 years. My wife went to Wharton for MBA class of 14, so I was with her in the US. Again, came back to India, and my third venture was PLG Clean Energy Projects, which is where we set up a 70 megawatt solar power plant in Dhule, Maharashtra. We invested about $55 million there. Sold off that asset back to my JV partner. It was Suzlon, who was my joint venture partner in my third project. Sold off my third venture, and while I was doing my third project, I was doing a lot of research on electric mobility and the role of electric mobility, and especially markets like the US, which are very advanced, where charging infra was coming up. Electric cars, Tesla still wasn't what it is today. 2020 might have become much bigger, but 2016 it was relatively a smaller firm. But we wanted to see, is the timing right or not? Will it make sense for electric mobility to become main stage
for Indian customers?
For India, and the right use case for electric mobility. Is it for personal mobility? Is it for public transportation purposes? And how will we, get electric mobility to India? And does it make sense or not in terms of unit economics, in terms of fuel delta that we have with other form factors? So all that took time. And while we were writing the white paper, we were also building the founding tenets of Blusmart, that how are we different on supply side differentiation, how are we different on the consumer side differentiation. It's not just EV, it's the end use of EV. So that took, I think, 2 years of research, and I met Anmol, my co-founder. We did a lot of meetings before we founded the company, because this time we were experienced. Anmol ran 3 energy ventures, I ran 4 energy ventures. And we learned a lot in these ventures good or bad, new things. We met tons of people globally, and we wanted to now at this age, we were much older now. I mean, I'm 37, and was 36. I've got 10 years of experience, and he has got 13 years of experience in our previous ventures. We wanted to leverage upon that and build a sustainable, fully electric ride-hailing service for the betterment of society and for the betterment of India. So a lot of time went in research. I think 2 years we put in research before building the company.
Got it. So you say that you put it 2 years of deep research while writing that white paper, right?
Yeah.
So you must be having some substance in your mind which made you to enter EV, right? So if you could please tell us what kind of research you did and what were your criteria to deciding that electric vehicle is something which I should be entering and this is the right timing. How you decide that this is the right time for the given market?
It was also very evolving. It wasn't a research which was a stagnant research or just was based on some knowledge that you see online. It was actually meeting everybody, meeting the world's largest mobility company, their founding team, their chief officers, investment officers, the investors, what led to that mobility company success in the US, why they are doing what they're doing in India, what they think about the global markets, then meeting a lot of global people in the EV space, what they think of their own markets, and what would they think of India, entering India or not. And then the consumer side, which is the biggest part, right? Putting all the pieces together ultimately boils down to whatever service you do. Since Anmol and myself come from B2B space, we have zero experience on building a consumer side business or a B2C business. So we also want to see that you may have great equipment, you may have great partners, you may have great suppliers, you may have great ingredients, but is the final product appealing to the consumer or not? And now what do we need to do that? So I think a big piece of our research was to understand the mindset of the consumer.
Okay.
And even if you were to connect all the dots, is the final product appealing for you as an end user or not? Will you use Blusmart or not? And what will make you tick? What will make you use us? Not today, not tomorrow, every day. It has to be a consistent effort. It's a process-driven thing. So that was something critical, and that is something we are still figuring out. I think we are getting better at that with each passing day. I don't think so. We have done still early days. We haven't scratched the surface as yet. I think there's a lot of scratching to do, but I think these are still early days for us. We learn a lot. We are open to feedback from our consumers. We are running a consumer platform which is doing about 100,000 trips a day. We're touching 100,000 lives every single day, and while we touch these 100,000 lives every month, we are also generating, economic opportunities for the driver partners who can drive on Blusmart, earn a respectable income revenue stream without any stress of asset ownership. So we have a very differentiated supply side.
Got it.
We encourage driver partners to drive, stick to their core skill set of driving without asset ownership. It's a very differentiated supply side. No company in the world does what Blusmart does. So we are creating inclusive opportunities for women drivers or men drivers alike to come and drive on Blusmart's platform, earn a decent revenue on an hourly basis, and without any stresses of asset ownership or the rising fuel costs. On the consumer side, we are a 4.9 star rated ride-hailing service, which is also fully electric. So as a consumer, you get zero ride denials, you get zero surge pricing, you get an elevated experience of ride-hailing using the best public transportation platform which is out there, which is also safe. So our drivers are fully trained. We are very, very mindful of the fact that when you drive an EV car or a Blusmart car, not only you're responsible for the consumer, you're also responsible for the environment, because a lot of road accidents happen in India. The biggest killer after COVID-19 in India is road accidents. So you have to be very, very mindful of the fact that you are holding the wheel, you are responsible for everybody outside. So safety is critical for us. And we wanted to build a very safe, reliable ride-hailing service, which is responsible and reliable for the consumer and for everybody in the ecosystem.
Got it. So we actually had a drive in a Blusmart cab, so we can see that the experience was better than the vehicles which are using petrol and LPG. Yeah. So when you say you approach a person who has really good understanding of a given industry, right? So it's very essential you ask the right questions, right? And how you basically approach these people and how you go and understanding the things that you want to understand. How exactly you used to plan the entire meeting. So if you could please explain that to me.
I mean, my goal of that meeting is to obviously when reach out to people, the goal is to understand what were their challenges while they were building it. Then the end
Okay.
goal, because not everybody, I think, knows everything. You have to still connect the dots, because everybody we met from the industry are not doing what we are doing, right?
Yeah,
So
okay.
in a way, everybody we met hasn't done what we are doing right now, right?
Yeah.
So, but what I wanted to still find out from people is why they did it and what are the challenges they came across. Because the end use is obviously somebody has done it, but what led to the blocks in their life while they were doing it is very, very important. Like, met the CFO of one of the largest global ride-hailing companies in the world, in fact, the largest. So the whole challenge with them was how did they build a brand that they build today? What were the challenges that they faced in terms of fundraising, in terms of building that brand out there? So that was my key thought processes or key goals to understand from those meetings. In terms of EV space, also now the cars are coming of higher range. So again, meeting people from the EV expert side who are experts in the EV space, will the cars run on battery, how long the battery range will go up. I mean, these are basic things that you learn from every meeting. So we keep reaching out to people for learning what they can share with us, and basically to understand what are the challenges that they faced.
Right, got it. So the core reason starting a Blusmart was you went into solar energy and you had experience of this industry, or was it more about you wanted to start some electrical vehicle company which can bring change in India? What was the core reason behind that?
So I would say clean energy business was based on my dissertation on the clean energy space. I just got interested and started doing more research and found out that there is a genuine opportunity to get to clean energy space. India needs clean energy adoption,
Got
and we can play a small role in accelerating that clean energy adoption in India, and that became a big business opportunity. Clean mobility happened again while I was in the US at that time. I chanced upon a visit to a EV charging station in the US, and that's how I came across the EV space. I don't think so that still led to what we're doing right now. Between those 2 years, we did a lot of research and figured out that the role EV electric vehicles can play is to substantially improve the air quality across various cities, because cities with each passing decade is only going to get congested and polluted.
Yeah.
I think the air quality index of Delhi is terrible. It's north of 400. If you see the AQI of London, it's 2. If you see the AQI of, say for example, San Francisco is 50, which is also good. South of 50 is good. The air quality index of New York is 42. The air quality index of Bombay, where I come from, is 300. It's hovering between north of 250. But the air quality index, the AQI of Delhi, is always north of 250. Delhi is the world's most polluted city, and Delhi is the world's most polluted capital consistently for the last 5-6 years. And this is only going to get worse from here if we don't do anything about it, right? So we encourage people, we encourage our competition, we encourage all stakeholders to come and ensure that private transportation, public transportation should go fully electric. It's very, very important. So the role of electric mobility is to actually clean up the air of cities. It's absolutely to remove so electric cars have zero tailpipe emissions. They still draw power from the central grid. India is a one grid, one nation policy. So while the central grid is still not 100% clean, but that renewable contribution is significantly growing up. So when we started off, India had say 1,000 megawatt of solar power plants. Now India has 100,000 plus non-coal based power plants installed. India is one of the fastest growing markets in the world for renewable energy. 106,000 megawatts of solar, wind, hydro plants are installed in India.
Okay.
And we have about 270,000 megawatts of thermal power plants installed in India. And by 2030, the entire energy mix will change. India will have 450 gigawatts or 450,000 megawatts of clean energy installation will happen by 2030. Significantly, our central grid, which is one grid of central grid of India, will get cleaner and cleaner with each passing day. So even the energy that we will draw to run these electric cars will be also clean. So now the momentum that we are seeing right now in this year 22 and 23, our energy charging stations, EV charging stations, will also be solarized. Plus, we'll draw green power to run fully electric green cars. So the entire ecosystem from energy consumption to energy generation is fully green and clean.
Got it.
That is the new India we want to see, and that is the new journey that we want to embark upon.
Right, got it. So the time you were clear that you will be starting an EV company and you that there are two big players in the market, Ola and Uber, right? So what was your go-to strategy? How you plan to sell your USP to customers so that you can convince them to use your car over Ola and Uber?
Look, we have two brand promises.
Yeah.
I think these are great companies. They changed the entire mobility paradigm in cities. Cities needed decongestion. I think they played a great role.
Yeah.
What they could not do is understand the pulse of the consumer. The pulse of the consumer is very clear.
Mm-hmm.
You want a reliable ride-hailing service,
Got it.
which reaches you on time,
Yeah.
which serves your purpose.
Yeah.
If you buy $100 flight ticket to Bombay
Mm-hmm.
or to Bangalore,
Mm.
you don't mind paying $50 for your transportation, or even $25, or even. But if you miss that flight, then you're gone.
Yeah.
That money goes wasted. A lot of times when people were traveling to airport, they were booking the rides on these transportation platforms, the other two ones you mentioned, but they were not sure whether they'll be able to catch the flight or not. So there was no ride reliability. Second thing, as a consumer, we saw was the surge pricing bit. The prices are very different. In the morning, I would take a ride and I had a different price. In the afternoon, a different price. In the evening, a different price.
Okay.
So that was a huge challenge.
Mm.
And this overall theme that I'm at the beck and call of the driver who finally decides whether I will make it to the airport or not. I didn't want to be at the beck and call of the driver. I wanted to go to the airport and I wanted to go in at that time. For example, even for this meeting, if the driver didn't show up, I didn't show up for the meeting, right? So we decided as a brand to do two things right. One is we will do zero ride denials. So of these million trips that we have done on our platform, we have done without a ride being denied from our side. So come hailstorm, come happens what, once you book a Blusmart, our brand promise to you is that we will take it all to ensure that your ride gets completed.
Got it.
It'll be zero ride denials from our side. You can choose to cancel if you want to, but we won't cancel from our side. The second brand promise that we do from our side is zero surge pricing. So again, learning from Delhi Metro or Subway in New York or Tube in London is that regardless of the environment outside, the pricing remains stationary. So we have a flat pricing structure on the Blusmart app. You can see the pricing of 0 to 5, 5 to 15, 15 to 25 kilometers. We have flat pricing structure regardless of the time you travel, from 5 a.m., 2 p.m. in the afternoon or 6 p.m. in the evening, the price is the same. So it's a sense of transparency, sense of reliability for the consumer, that same pricing regardless of the time you travel. That service is on time, the service is clean, the cars are neat and clean, the driver is well rested, he has no stresses of driving, he's not thinking about how I'm going to pay my bills tonight. He's driving, he's sticking to his core skill set. So significant elevation of the customer experience. And hence we got a rating of 4.9
Got it.
on our iOS app, 4.9 on our Android app. We're the highest rated ride-hailing service in the world.
Got it.
So it's not our competition. The competition is not competing with us in service standards.
Got it. Got it.
It's like if you take a Air India A380 or an Etihad or Emirates A380, both have the same equipment. The denominator is the same.
Mm-hmm.
There are two manufacturers in the world, Boeing and Airbus. They make the same planes.
Got it.
But the use of the equipment as an operator differentiates you. Whether you want to use a A380 on the Air Indian or the Air India equipment, or whether to use the A380 on Etihad or Emirates, the experience is the service quality, and this is where you can create a massive moat for yourself. So our biggest moat in Blusmart is a customer service, which is absolutely unparalleled.
Got it. Pretty interesting to know that you're not, asking for any surcharges and you will not be going to cancel right from your side. Yeah. So, at the very first point that you say that you want to have cars which are electrically driven, and then you say that you will be approaching customers to book rides. So, what was your first 3 to 5 months of journey where you collaborate with the companies to outsource that if we want cars from your company, and then going ahead to get some early customers, like the very, very few early customers who can provide you quality feedback to improve overall service of the, your cars, right? So what was that? Like, how was it that you collaborate with the companies to get the cars and to talk to the people for the feedback?
Look, we were very clear with the fact that the problems on the other two platforms were known to us as consumers of those two platforms. So we knew the customer side well. All we had to do was get a network of electric cars on our own platform. First source electric cars on a differentiated supply side model. So our model doesn't encourage drivers to own cars and bring the cars on the table. What was important for us was while we build this ride-hailing service,
Uh-huh.
it has to be sustainable on the Blusmart platform. We went to institutions, we leased these electric cars from them. So we have signed thousands of car lease agreements. We bring these electric cars on our platform from institutions which can afford to invest in electric cars and lease it to us. And that's how we solve our supply side challenge. On the consumer side, we wanted to give them an experience which they have never seen before, a reliable one. You do not expect reliability from public transportation, right? We wanted to change that completely from our side. And the amount of work, the good work that we're doing, people spread saying that, okay, take a Blusmart. I took one, it was fantastic. So from doing about 100 trips a month to now doing about 1 lakh trips a month, we have seen that journey.
Nice.
But that journey is on the back of consistency, that journey is on the back of reliability, that journey is on the back of keeping the brand promise and the flag high that we will never deny you a ride. Come the rainy season of Bombay or Delhi, come the rainy season of or the heat of Delhi or the cold of winter, we will give you the ride whenever you want, and at the pricing which is not going to hurt your pocket, which is not going to be over the roof. It has to be decent because mobility is one of the biggest expenses for any household, and it has to be sustainable.
Right.
So the cost of CNG has gone up by 50% in the last 5 years. The cost of petrol and diesel has gone up by 100%. It used to be about 69 rupees a litre, now it's about 120 rupees a litre. So the cost of fuel is going up, and the cost of alternate fuel is going up. So we knew that the cost of transportation also will significantly go up. And electric mobility gives us a huge opportunity because the cost of solar has come down to now 2 rupees 50 paise per kilowatt hour. The cost of energy for EV that we draw from the Delhi government, we're grateful to Delhi government for the EV policies, is about 4 rupees 30 paise per kilowatt hour. So the cost of energy is low, which means that input cost to run. If you run a kilometer, it costs 2 cents on EV. If you run a kilometer on CNG, it costs about 5.5 cents or 6 cents per kilometer. If you run your car on petrol or diesel, it costs about 14 cents. So if you see, EV is the best way in terms of per kilometer cost. The cheapest form of electron is solar. So if you use solar energy, renewable energy, and run an EV fleet back with that, the cost will even go down maybe a cent per kilometer.
Got it.
So the whole idea was, to sum it up, get accessible power, cheap, low-cost power.
Got it.
Get the right partners, which is the Delhi government, who have a proactive approach towards EV. There's a challenge in Delhi, huge congestion challenge, huge pollution challenge. So while you create a consumer-centric platform and solve the challenges of consumer with a sustainable supply side model, you also address the biggest problem in Delhi, which is pollution. It is terrible. It's like, nobody in the world lives in what we are living. It's a living hell. And somebody has to do something about it. And only if you take these small, meaningful steps, more people will join you and they will also take more meaningful steps. And everybody takes meaningful steps, then the problem is solved. It's a population of 46 million, which is equivalent to the population of Spain. If you put Spain in Delhi NCR, it will fit in terms of population. 46 million people live in the Delhi NCR geography. It's a massive population. It's only increasing, and with the way GDP is increasing or people are increasing, I think the population will go north of 60 million by 2030, and the problem will compound. We don't want compounding problems. We want to solve them today. I was born in '84. It's been 37 years now. I think it's our generation which has contributed to these problems. The AQI was not 400 when I was born. So I think it is the responsibility of our generation to solve the problem also that our future generation will face. My daughter, she's 5 years old. Her children will face the same problems. So if we don't address the problems today, somebody else will have to deal with it. So I think it's a huge sense of responsibility that we have, and we should. This is what got us going and got us inclined to build this ride hailing system.
It's really quite noble thing what you are doing, and being a Delhi resident, I'm very happy to see you doing this thing, and I'm pretty sure people will be motivated because you are successful in terms of what you are doing, not only bringing and creating entire company, also bringing the changes in terms of pollution and also other things. So sir, my question on the competition side would be this. So I had a chat with the founder and they were sharing one experience that if a customer books like 3 to 4 rides with their company, then the customer becomes loyal to them. right? After that, even though if they have an experience which is not that good, they will still continue to book the other rides with them. So I wanted to know is what are the USP from your side. Let's say at a point Ola or Uber and any other company start to say that also our car gonna be electrically driven and we will shift these things or will bring to USPs. So how you will be going to define yourself as unique because of what qualities? Is this about the qualities that you had, or it's about the loyalty that you have established with the early customers?
See, in terms of the consumers that we have,
Yeah.
they all had access to the other two platforms that you're naming, right? So on
Yeah.
their mobile phones, they had the apps of the other two companies.
Right.
These 100,000 people who have shifted are consistently spending that money on our app because they like what they are getting.
Yeah.
So our again brand promises is very clear.
Yeah.
Is right denials zero from our side, surge pricing absolutely zero. These two are industry first products. No ride hailing service in India or Southeast Asia or Asia or globally has these two products. These are industry first products in the world. Zero ride denials is not a concept in the US because if you are in New York or you are in London or you are in San Francisco, you summon an Uber, 10 out of 10 times the ride will be completed. There's no ride denials concept in the US.
Okay.
People do not deny rides. Even if you go to Dubai for that matter and you summon an Uber there, there's no ride denial concept. The ride denial concept is in India. The asset ownership in India is 22 cars or 30 cars per 1,000 people. India is one of the lowest asset owners in the world in terms of cars. These poor people who come from the weakest sections of society, they were encouraged by the other platforms, the one that you named right now, to forcibly buy a car. They have to spend $10,000 upfront to buy a car. And now it is their choice to pick you up or to drop you. They are just an aggregator platform, the other two platforms that you mentioned about.
Yes.
So for a driver, there is no patronage towards those two platforms. They can use the finger and switch off the app and off you go. You can't book me anymore because I'm not live on the platform. And as a consumer, the patronage wasn't there because you were using the service which was just out there like a bus, like a Delhi bus or like a Delhi auto. There's no patronage. It was just a mode of transportation. What we had to do was to understand the challenges on the supply side, why the drivers were doing that, understand the pulse of the driver. Is the driver keen to drive? Yes. Does the driver want a good quality of life? Yes. He wants a better quality of life or she wants a better quality of life. They want to drive. Great. Do they want to own the asset? No. Why are they being forced to own an asset? There's no need to own an asset. If the end goal is to earn, why are you investing? If your end goal is simply to earn. So we deleted this part, saying that you don't need to own an asset. We'll give you better quality of life, improved quality of life, no stress. And they didn't go to IIT like you guys, but they know, they're smart, and they want a better quality of life. Yeah. They don't have the IIT degree or the Harvard degree or the Stanford degree or the IIM degree, but they want a better quality of life without any stresses. So we wanted to do that for them. That was one part. On the consumer side, they wanted a consistent, they wanted a consistent service which was consistent on all days, not like it was good on 3 days, on the 4th day they missed their flight, so all the hard work goes, right? And safe one, a reliable one, a clean one. And this is exactly what we offered to the consumer. We never took the market share of our competition away. It was such a good service that the customers came running to us because we are the last player to come in the market. We came much later. So instead of competing with the competition, we created a new category. We created a service which was needed but wasn't in the market. Your product will always do well if you create a category which is not there. Then you're not competing with the competition, right? So we really appreciate the other two platforms. I think what they did was great for the era of 2010 to 2020. Is it relevant for the era of 2021-30? Maybe not. I would differ. This new decade of 21 to 30 is a new decade. It's about sustainability, about reliability, about safety, about responsibility, about innovation. And you know what happened to Kodak? You know what happened to IBM? And otherwise you would not be using an iPhone right now, right? So if you don't innovate, if you don't create a better product, you will be irrelevant. This is what the history teachers or IT taught you, or maybe some other colleges taught me. You have to use innovation and you have to have the right product market fit. You have to right consumer base. I need to know your pulse as a consumer. What is that you want? If I'm able to give that, then you are my consumer. And if I don't get your pulse, then you are not my consumer. Right? That's it.
So it's just not at the consumer that you're providing quality service. It's also about the driver and the kind of ecosystem that you have built, which you define as a proper company, right?
The driver is the feeder to the ecosystem.
Yeah.
If you go to a restaurant and if the chef is not happy, the food that you get on a table will not taste good. So you have to have the entire ecosystem and you have to take care of that. The feeder has to be good, then the end product will be good.
Right.
Life's a full circle. What goes in comes out. So you have to have the entire processes well structured, keep everybody in the ecosystem on the same plate.
Right. So right now, Blusmart is active in Gurgaon. So what kind of expansion that you are planning, and how exactly you are going to expand all over to India, or what is your future vision on the company?
Look, I think right now we are solving the biggest challenge that we are facing, and the challenge is in Delhi.
Yeah.
We have a massive short supply in public transportation. There's a massive pollution challenge in Delhi NCR. It's a population base of 46 million.
Yeah.
So we chose the largest mobility, largest hospitality, largest transportation market in India. In our research, we found that it's Delhi NCR, the geography. It's a massive geography.
Yeah.
So there are people who need reliable transportation. They have the transportation needs. There's a short supply of 100,000 cabs in Delhi NCR right now. So in the short term, mid-term, we believe that we want to get network effects.
Yeah.
We want to get more visibility. We want to continuously expand in the Delhi NCR market. Tap the right market, be more visible, and once we do that, we will also continue to go to other smaller cities which are smaller than Delhi NCR, but also of relevance like Bangalore and Hyderabad. At the right time of Bombay, we'll do that. But we really believe that we have a huge potential and a huge opportunity to scale in Delhi NCR right now, and this is what we want to do in this major part of 2022. Towards the end of the year, we are gearing up and preparing our partners and our stakeholders for the other city launches also.
Okay. Coming to last question of the session, let's say there is a 20-year person studying in any college, right? So what would be your recommendation for the person? Because you always being a practical person who suggests you to do things on your own. So how a person should go about the things which are around them?
I think it's the choice of the person. I think, if they want to be, if you want to do a job or become an entrepreneur, become a professional, I think you should go by your gut. I think you should just go because I don't think so anything is so well structured or planned. I had no idea in my school days that what I'll do in college or my college days what I'll do later. But I think your company does matter. I think the people you spend time with, you are as good as the 5 people you spend your time with. Yeah. And if your company is good and if the people around you are good, they mentor you, they guide you. And I think this is what my firm belief has been. Spend time with people who can add value to your life. Time is finite. Yeah. Everybody's time on this planet is finite. So while we are on this planet, we have responsibility towards ourselves for the finite life we all have, the finite breath we have, and we have responsibility towards the planet. And if you can use that wealth, contribute, leave the world a better place than you came, than before you came. So you came, you contributed, you created some positive changes for the people, for the environment, for whatever, and you left the place because your time is finite. Similarly, your time in institution is also finite. So for the 2-3 years that you're spending in IIT and making friends and learning so much from the beautiful, illustrious institution of IIT is to understand, to gauge the best from your faculty, from your staff, from your teachers, from your mentors. Everybody at college plays a very important role, right? In building an institution. Learning from them, making the right set of friends, also learning the best from them. I think this is what you could do. Learn from everybody. Okay, then try and do whatever you want to do. Be good at whatever you want to do. I mean, be a great professional or a great entrepreneur or a great doctor.
Got it. I don't think I couldn't have asked for a better session. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm looking for hosting for second episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you.